All right, all right. We are live.
Yes, good evening.
Good
How's
evening. Can
everybody?
you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, welcome everyone. Um, as the people are coming in to think outside the red box, we are here every Monday at 7:30. So glad to have you here. Just be sure that you participate because again, we are here to motivate, teach, instruct, inspire you, and push and pull you into purpose. And so we're here each and every Monday to talk about, different topics, but everyday things that we see, know, do that impact our lives as we continue to try to heal and become emotionally healthy. I am, Dion, getting some background noise from you.
You getting background?
Yes,
I can
ma'am.
try to.
I'm here.
I'm gonna go out and come back and see if that helps
Okay. All right.
because
So
I don't.
I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. We have a few technical difficulties, but we're going to keep this thing moving. All right. And so while she tries to get this together, I'm going to go ahead and start and talk about today. Today's topic is Unlovable Me. And so what we're going to talk about today is still dealing with the topic of abandonment. The whole month of September, we've been talking about abandonment. And every Monday for the month of September, what we have been doing is taking specific signs that people display from being abandoned and just kind of isolating it and talk about those individual topics. And so today we're going to talk about the inability to maintain relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So unlovable me is really the feeling that people have that they're not loved, they're not cared about, stemming from being abandoned. And so we want to get into how people who are abandoned sometimes have a hard time maintaining relationships. So just so we are all on the same page, I'm just going to say and make sure that we're understanding how does abandonment cause a person to be unable to maintain healthy relationships. And so um, abandonment causes a slew of unhealthy behaviors that actually sabotage your relationships with others. And so that's how it becomes difficult for someone who's been abandoned to maintain relationships. All right. So we're going to talk about a few of them. And then at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to give you 5 tips. 5 tips on how to handle and deal with people who display the sabotaging relationships. All right. So I'm going to get into this first one, but before I do, my co-host is here, Dion Coates. Welcome, welcome, my fearless co-host. So glad to have you here with us here each and every Monday.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for that great welcome. It's good to be here tonight.
So, Dion, is there anything you want to say before we get into this?
Well, because I was out a little minute, I don't know exactly what you said. So repeat
I
what
just
you
I just
say.
told them how abandonment relates to being unable to maintain healthy relationships. But before we really get into this, I'm sorry, I forgot announcements. I should be doing announcements. But check us out on Saturday. We have Singles Chat Reloaded. We are relaunching that. We had our big Singles Chat Reloaded back in June. It was well received. But whether you're single, whether you're dating, engaged, newly married, or even if you are married, just join us on Saturday at noon for Singles Chat Reloaded because Singles Chat is about discussing any and everything that are on singles' minds, not just marriage, not just dating, but everything. And this Saturday, we're going to be talking about single free and becoming me. And I think that a lot of people could probably benefit from that conversation, although the focus is what should you be doing while you're single, and how you should be living your life abundantly while you're single. You could probably learn some things no matter what your status relationship is. So join us on Saturday at noon Eastern time for Singles Chat Reloaded, Single Free and Becoming Me. And if you know some singles, um, send them, invite them, let them know about it. All right, Dion. So back to the
And
topic at hand.
let me just give a plug for your singles chat reload.
Uh-huh.
Two, it's important for us to know as singles that we're whole as a single. A lot of times we think we're not whole because we think we need somebody to complete us. We
I
already
like it.
you bring 100 of you to the table in hopes that whoever you get bring 100 to the table too. So singles all is not lost. You're still whole. So
You're a
join
whole
the
one. You're a whole one all by yourself.
that's right, all by yourself. You and God got it going on. You just don't know it.
So Dion,
Well,
what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just 'cause told them we're gonna talk about some of the signs and just some of the things with how people can't maintain relationships, and at the end I'll give them 5 tips on how to handle people that they may be in relationships with, and it doesn't necessarily have to be again marriage, spouse, significant other. This could be a friend. We have friends who we have a hard time keeping relationships with because they have unhealthy behaviors. It could be co-workers, managers, whatever it may be. So 5 tips, I'll give those at the end. But I want to talk a little bit about um, one of the biggest uh, signs or problems that people don't even realize or relate to being abandoned, and that's being ghost.
yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
you ever been ghosted? I don't know if anybody's out there ever been ghosted out of nowhere. They're MIA. They're not calling. They're not answering your calls or text messages. They just disappeared off the face of the earth. And so people will do that when they fear they're getting too close to someone. Um, they're gone. They run. They don't want to deal with the feelings and the emotions that come with being in a relationship. Now, I don't want this to get mixed up with people who haven't been abandoned. Just because someone's ghost doesn't necessarily mean that they have been abandoned. They
That's
could be they could be ghosted, and that's just kind of a issue with their character. That's a big character flaw, if you ask me. But being abandoned can cause people to fear getting close to people, and so then you get afraid that they might leave you. So what you do is you leave them instead. Like, I'm gonna beat you to the punch. I'm not even gonna give you a chance to hurt my feelings, break my heart, and leave me hanging. I'm just out of here. So when they begin to feel those feelings, it's easier for them to run than to deal with those feelings and give them a chance for someone to even love them.
that sounds like some sabotaging right there.
That's some big time sabotage.
Well, I was thinking about people that are unlovable are incapable of inspiring and incapable of affection because they don't feel like they have it to give, nor do they feel like they can receive it because they don't think that they're lovable. So that was something that really caught my attention when you think about people that always, in those sabotage situations where they always want to sabotage the relationship. I used to have this friend, and she would do things that would be just so um, unlovable.
Mm.
Um, she would, if my family would call, she would get upset if we were together because she felt like this was her time and she needed all my quality, my time. And if my family called, that I was supposed to ignore them. And I'm like, okay, well, I hear you, and I want to give you the time that you need. But then I realized that she was one of those sabotagers. She's one of those people that's just hard to love and hard to receive love. And you have to love her in a certain. She puts you in a certain box to love her, which makes it hard to have relationships. So have we been in relationships with people that want to control everything and every aspect of the relationship because their need of being in love is so great that they want to overshadow everything. She even said that she felt like my daughter was too attached to me. I'm like, well, you should probably have a better relationship with your daughter then, because if you feel like mine is too attached to me, that means that you're not attached to yours. So that thing that I say, you teach who you are, she's teaching her daughter how to be unlovable. So some relationships you have to be willing to walk away from, which is unfortunate. And you have to know when to walk and not condemn. because that's going to be
Mm. When do
to
you
watch
know it's time
them.
to move on? Join us for Singles Chat Reloaded in December as we do part two of when do you know it's time to move on. And but when you're talking about that, it made me think about the other end of the spectrum. So I just talked about the end of the spectrum where um, you don't want to get close, and then there's that spectrum where you're trying to get too close and you become clingy. Okay,
Right.
so it's one of those things that now I fear. First, you fear having feelings, so you run. Now you have the feelings, but you fear they're not going to have the feelings or they're going to run, and so you become clingy in
And
the
control,
relationship. Yeah,
and you want to control everything.
right, right. So you have some who have trouble getting close, and then some, like you said, the friend that was, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I think that's a little clingy. Like I want you all
That's
to myself, and there can't be no disruption, and I don't want to share you, but you have a whole family.
a whole family
So
with
how,
6 kids. With 6 kids.
with 6 kids, how in the world do you think someone is going to be able to spread all their time and give that to you when they have a whole family?
Hmm. And a
Um,
whole that have needs. Okay.
yeah, we got a comment that was agreeing. They said she was tripping. I'm answering my family. Exactly, Rhonda. Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
we.
that's when you have to know when it's time to sever some relationships, because some relationships are only meant to have for seasons. And when you've tapped out on that season, it's time for you to move on and do something else. It's not that I don't love you or that I don't want to be involved with you or in the relationship. I can't afford it any longer because
Mhm.
you require too much. And like I said, I have a whole husband and 6 whole kids, and some grandkids right now. So I'm sorry, I just can't give you that kind of time.
Right. We got
So I
somebody
do
who agreed
some
that's
of
clean. So, like, clingy is not a bad thing per se, I think. But when you have to be joined, like when you want to spend time with someone and you want to be with them a lot, and some people may say that as clingy, and that's kind of, it could be healthy. It's when it becomes that unhealthy clinginess where you're
it.
joined to that significant or other or that spouse or that friend, and you have no identity outside of that relationship with them. Like you just got to be with them 24/7. That's when it becomes really, really unhealthy and really, really bad.
So, Angelina, think about too. Sometimes we have people that live in families and they feel unlovable because they haven't been loved by their family members. You hear a lot of times in families, I've heard where families say that parents, where their 2 children, they have a favorite child, and the other child feel like they're unloved. So they grow
Mm,
up feeling unlovable. So they don't get the attention that they need when they're growing up.
yes, Dion, you keep
So
giving me all kind of plugs. So join us next month when we talk about not being picked on our Facebook Live every third Saturday. We're going to talk about not being picked, which does include what Dion just said, which is sometimes we're in our families, right? And parents, there are parents who have their favorites. They show favorites, and they what's the word I'm looking for? Compliment, over encourage, over whatever, one child over another. We're always praising the one about their accomplishments, pushing them, and then you have the other child that's not really getting any attention at all. And again, we talked about that. We've been talking about that all month, being abandoned mentally and emotionally, and not being picked within the family is mental and emotional abandonment. And we have to be careful about that when we're raising our children, because you can have the same children in the household learning the same things, but their personalities are going to be different, and what they want to do is going to be different, and sometimes it can be easy to gravitate towards one that is like you. So like when you got a father who's maybe got 2 sons, and he's really into sports, and one of his sons is really into sports, and the other son is not. And so now he has a bond with that son that is into sports. I have something I can do with him. We can talk about stuff. We can do things together. Versus the other son is like, well, what am I going to do with him? He never wants to go to the games. He never wants to watch the games. He never wants to go fishing. He never wants to do anything. And so we tend to just kind of leave that child behind. But we have to understand the emotional and mental impacts when you do things like that.
Well, it brings me back to identity. We've been talking about identity all month. If you know, it keeps on coming back to identity, people finding and knowing their identity and then becoming the being. That's one of the things that we deal with is understanding emotions and understanding your identity. If you don't know who you are, and if the foundation hasn't been laid, then guess what? You get lost. That's when you start feeling those things of being unlovable, and you start fearing, and you start going through rejection, and you start lashing out. It's a lot of things that you start doing as a result of that. You know, you have unhappy days, you have sad days because you don't even know who you are. So here you are living with this gaping wound opened up. When you think about iniquitous trait and habits and things that we carry, here you carry being unlovable and hard to love and even hard to receive it. And here you are with all of these wounds, and a lot of times people don't know how to deal with them. They, they do directly the opposite. They can't see past your hurt, and they think, "Oh my God, here comes John, unlovable John. Let's move to the other side of the room because I don't have."
You drive people away. It's not that you're unlovable. It is not that you're unlovable, but you're just not giving people a chance to love you. Like, you keep driving them away, you keep pushing them away, you keep having reasons for them not to want to come around when all they really do is want to love you. We got a comment here that I want to share that just popped up. It says, my oldest son used to not want to participate. I had to make a family rule that we all support each other. Now, for years, we all do everything together to support each other. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wonderful. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
She said she wanted to know if she's on the right topic. Yes, you are. Because what happens is you will have some children who maybe they're a little standoffish or antisocial, and they don't want to participate in everything. And sometimes you have to make them participate, and you have to teach your children to support each other, whether we realize it or not. That's learned behavior.
Yes. You have children that are smart and don't want to play sports, or play instruments that don't want to play sports, something that you're not interested in. You have to make sure that you take interest in all your children. That's one of the things I prided myself in, was to make sure, even if it's something that I didn't understand, that I would understand it. Like, one kid wanted to play soccer, the other one didn't, but he liked to play Go. My favorite game Pokemon Go.
Game. Oh my God.
So what I went bought us some Pokemon stuff. I bought me a Pokemon game. I bought him one, and we played it, and we figured out how to play games. I became a gamer. I wasn't one, but I became one. So now as an adult, we still play Pokemon Go. He's 27, going on 28. I'm 50 something. I'm not going to tell you how much, but we still play Pokemon Go. So you do what you have to do for your kids to make them feel validated in a family.
Yes. She said her daughter took a class, a topic on introverts, and she taught them how to do that. I think that's beautiful.
Yes.
I think that sets a lot of you as a mother to be able to actually listen to your daughter and implement something that will work for the whole family. So I think that says kudos to you, Dominique, for even doing that.
Yeah. Keep up the great work. Keep it up.
Absolutely. All right. So, Dion, what else you got before we get into the tips?
Well, I just wanted to say too, and for single parents, if you feel like there's nothing that you can do in households and with children or whatever, get involved. Moms, I know you're busy working and doing the things that you need to do to survive and to feed the families and to make sure that you guys have a place to live or whatever. But get in touch with your children, find out what they're like, even if it's going out on dates with them individually and making them feel special. Try to take out some time to do something to make each one of those kids special so that they can know that they're loved. I remember being in a family of 6, and my mother had a favorite. And a lot of times, a lot of us suffered some emotional well-being, and we could have been felt like we were unlovable at times because we didn't feel that she gave that same love to the rest of us like she did that one. So it's important that you know these children didn't ask to come here, and it's important for us to know the charge that God has given us to care for our children, to make sure that they grow up to be healthy human beings and they don't grow up to be unlovable. So parents, if you find yourself in that stage, kudos to Dominique. Dominique, keep doing what you're doing. Keep finding ways to make it better for your family. And moms, if you're single moms and you haven't found a niche or a way, give us a call. Shout us out or whatever. If you need somebody to walk you through it, we'll be happy to help you. But go right on ahead.
Absolutely. DM me, or you can if you know me personally, just call me up and we can talk. All right, so let's get into this. So if you find yourself in a relationship with someone who displays sabotaging behaviors, there's some tips I want to leave you with in handling them. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit in depth about each one. The first one is don't take the bait. Oh, I love saying that, right? So I heard somebody say that. I didn't make that up. I stole it, y'all. But I heard somebody say that on something I was watching on Facebook, like, don't take the bait. And I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, I love that because it's so true, right? Don't take the bait. Don't get manipulated into arguments where you're having to argue about their worth and
Oh my,
constantly affirming and comforting them. So, for
oh my
example,
goodness.
they might say stuff like, I know you don't really like me, or you only here because you feel sorry for me. Then then there you are, reassuring them that this is the reason you're here with them, and you're over complimenting to pacify them and their shattered ego. So we don't want to take the bait. We don't want to get caught up in these arguments where we are spending so much time trying to revalidate because that's not really healthy for you, and it's not really healthy for them. Okay, and they're only doing this because they're trying to manipulate you into an argument, and they're trying to manipulate you into um, giving them all these compliments, and all that does is become attention seeking. Again, we're abandoned. We didn't get the attention and love that we need. So therefore, I'm going to get it by any means necessary, even if it's negative. Okay. Yep. So Dominique says they will try to guilt trip you.
Oh my goodness.
God. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Guilt trip. And it's all a manipulation. And then here we are, we're getting all frustrated and upset, and now we got something to say. And now we done been sucked in. Don't take the bait. All
Don't
right.
take it.
All right.
Run.
Number 2, provide a safe place for communication. Listen and validate their feelings before trying to get them to see a different perspective. And I think this is a good tip for anyone who has unhealthy behaviors. I mean, we're talking about abandonment, but this tip right here is effective communication, right? Someone comes to you, they're upset. I think I talked about this earlier this morning on my Facebook Live. They're upset and they're telling you how they feel, and you're just totally dismissing their feelings. We can't dismiss people's feelings. We have to validate, because whether we agree with how they feel or not, that's how they feel. I mean,
They're entitled.
they're
They're
entitled
entitled
to
to
human. That's
feelings.
how they feel. And so we need to be able to say, I hear you, because people want to be heard. I hear you. I understand what you're saying. I understand your feelings are hurt, or I understand you're frustrated or disappointed. Be able to validate where they are before you try to take them somewhere else. Does that make sense? I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense. Holler at me
Yeah.
out there if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So here we go. So now that you validated their feelings, they're going to be more open. They're going to be more open to listening to you and what you have to say. And then that's when you can, thank you, Dominique. That's when you can now maybe try to rationalize with them and show them a different perspective. I understand you're upset. And I understand why you're upset. Just hear me when I say that wasn't my intentions. I didn't want to make you upset. I hope y'all follow me out there. Validate,
Mm-hmm.
then you're able to explain. But sometimes we just want to go right into explaining. We don't want to even validate and acknowledge their feelings. And when you dismiss somebody, that makes them feel even worse than what they already felt when they came to you. So create a safe space, provide a safe place for communication. Any comments, Dion?
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about is we have that trigger finger. We want to make sure that and you know who you are, what you all about. We got that trigger finger that we want to cut you down and make sure you know. That's right. We have to be careful with people that are unlovable because we have to learn how to, like you said, accept them where they are and not beat them down. Because guess what? You become a victim too. You become just like they are. You do exactly what they do. You just do it on another level. What I say, you're one of those social unlovables. You can manage your unlovability by cutting other people down. So we can go on abroad in you think you're doing some good, but you're
Yeah,
actually doing some damage. So put away your trigger finger.
right. All right. Number 3, don't take it personally.
It's not about
Remember,
you.
their behavior is not about you.
Not
It's
about
about
you.
them and their brokenness. You cannot take their actions personally. Now, I know that's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. It's easier said than done because I'm told I take things personally all the time. But
Tell them to mind their business. Tell them to mind their business. MINE, mind their business. Or MIND, mind their business.
right, but I think I say this a lot to the people that I work with. That we can't take things personally when you're dealing with someone who's emotionally unhealthy, um, because it's really never about you. So let me say this, ladies, because I talked earlier about what men go and ghost, but women go ghost too. So I don't want to act like we don't. But when men go ghost and they all of a sudden they're nowhere to be found, they're not taking the phone calls, they're not taking the text messages, they're not reaching out to you, y'all not going out no more. You don't know what happened to them. They just dropped off the face of the earth. It's not about you.
Not about
Don't
you.
sit at home and take that personally. Don't internalize that thing, because them going ghost has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with how pretty you are, or how sexy you are, or how intelligent you are, or how well put together you are. You have to stop coming up with all these reasons as to it's your fault. There's something wrong with you as to why they're left, because that's just really not the case. Again, it's a big character flaw in them, and it has nothing to do with you.
Don't be a contributor. Don't contribute to the foolishness. Yeah. Walk away.
Number 4, don't be an enabler. Now, we talked about this last month. So we care about someone, we want to coddle them, we want to carry the burden, and it's not our burden to carry. Giving too much attention and feeding into the unhealthy behaviors is not good for them. They cannot get the healing they need if you enable. Don't be an enabler when you're dealing with people with unhealthy relationships. Don't make excuses for them. Don't hide. Don't hide it. We want to cover things up and lie and hide, and don't do that. That's not good for you, and it's not good for them when you're an enabler. You got anything to add to that, Dion?
Just want to say that when you're trying to help people to get to emotional sobriety, it's important that you don't contribute to the cause. A lot of times we become contributors, and then once we're benefactors of what we contributed to, then we don't like it because we feel like, okay, now I've been abused. So it's important that when you're trying to help someone, you have to make sure that you're not contributing to the cause and allow them to have and steer them in the right direction. And if you need help, we're here. Becoming a Being is here. And that's what Angelina does. She teaches on becoming a being. We're here to help focus you and get you in the right place so that emotional and mental health can be a friend to you. It don't have to be an enemy. You don't have to be unlovable and unhealthy all your life.
Exactly. All right. We are at time. So I'm going to do number 5. Don't be a fixer. Now.
Oh, my goodness. That's a mouthful.
Out of all 5 of them, I want y'all to hear me, and I want you to hear me good. Don't be a fixer. Now, I done wrote something down for this one, so let me read it. We always want to fix somebody. Holler at me if you feel me. We always want to fix somebody. We want to correct them when they're wrong, or always point out their shortcomings and tell them what they should do. While you should correct them, it should be with love. And it should not always make them feel worse than they already do. Okay? They already beat their own self up. Why do they need you to drag them to? Again, they need a safe place, people. They need a safe place for communication. And you're throwing jabs, you're constantly reminding them of their unhealthy behaviors, and you're condemning them does not create a safe place for them. Stop trying to be a fixer. Okay? So there's some things that we just cannot fix. There's sometimes they need to maybe go talk to a psychologist or a therapist. If it's your spouse, they need to go talk to, maybe get it some healing from someone else. Sometimes you just have to know that you cannot help your loved ones. But oh my God, we want to fix them. We want to tell them how they should be. We want to always correct their behaviors. And all you're doing is making them feel worse than they already feel about themselves. Stop it. I'm sorry. I got a little. I digress.
Uh-oh, you got some feelings caught up in that, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. Because I see it all the time. All the time. And people that I work with, they come to me and they're already feeling bad. And I'm trying to help them heal. But they're sharing with me, and the stuff that is said to them and the stuff that is done to them, where the person in their life thinks they're being a helper when they're really only sabotaging and making things worse. And then here I am having to again tell them, don't take it personally, this, that, and the third. Don't be a fixer. Stop stepping on people when they're down.
And listen, people are beating themselves up enough. People are hurting and they're doing their own beating up on themselves. They don't need a double dose from you because you think that you're the authority on something. Just because you think you know something, or just because you might feel like you healed in an area, doesn't give you the right, or you should even take the right to condemn somebody, because that's all you're doing is condemning. It's not godly. Stop it. Have some
Mhm.
mercy.
Right. So
She's,
what you just said, Dion, goes with the question here. We have, how does correction with love, what does that look like? It looks like you being understanding. It looks like you having mercy. It looks like you allowing that person to speak, allowing that person to feel. It means maybe having to wait before you even say something. Sometimes we
yes,
want to just say something right there in the moment, and it's
yes,
not a good time. It's about knowing, correcting in love is about knowing the time when you should do it. Wait
yes,
for the cool of the day. It's coming with them with for understanding and not with an attitude. That
yes,
you're gonna get them told, or you gonna tell them right, or you gonna listen to me. It's about just having a little mercy as to where they
yes,
are and meeting
yes,
them where they are. We've got to meet them where they are. So it doesn't mean that you won't necessarily um, tell them that they did something wrong, but it's about how you
how you
present
say it.
it to them.
Mhm.
It's like, now you shouldn't have did that. That
Right.
was wrong. That was ugly what you did. Or did we say, you know, when you did such and such, I understand why you did it, but can we maybe think about a different way to do it next time? You know,
Mhm.
because I think that, while I understand your feelings, the way in which you did that, this didn't look good. It wasn't done. It doesn't look good. It wasn't done in a good light. And I just don't want people to see you that way. And then it's, oh, they care about how I look. They care about, you know, to,
Mhm.
to me, that's what correcting in love looks like. It's me being understanding, being merciful, meeting that person where they are, and then waiting, validating before you
Mhm.
try to give another perspective. Okay. Um, so again, don't beat them while they're down. How they're supposed to ever feel worthy if you're always reminding them they are unworthy. And that's what being a fixer does. When you want to constantly correct someone and you want to constantly tell them what they're not doing right, and you want to constantly tell them how they should be acting and how they should be showing up 24/7, we got something to say about their behavior. They already are unhealthy. They already don't feel good about themselves. And all you're doing is making them feel even more unworthy. A person cannot heal if the environment is a constant reminder and supporter of the bad side of them.
That's
That's why
right.
we got to give them number two, which is a safe place for communication. So all you're doing is perpetuating
Right.
the environment that keeps them from healing when you want to be that person who's throwing jabs. All right. I hope you all gotten something out of this. Dion, do you have any last thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I wanted to say to change the atmosphere. It's important that we pray for those people and that we seek God sometimes for the right things to say and how to say them. And if we listen to God for some direction, it'll help ease us into some of these conversations and helping people to emotional sobriety. And like I always say, it's important that you know who you are. We teach who we are. If you don't like what you're teaching, you have the power to change it. Change it. It's okay to be emotionally healthy. We should work on that on a daily because we're all working through some things and trying to fix some things in our life, or some character that's been broken, or some things that has been risky that we need to fix so that we can stay mentally healthy. So if you're a mentally healthy person in your relationship and you're lovable and you can help your spouse or your children get to point A to point B, take the time and the effort and prayer and seeking God's face for the right direction and let mercy speak and have its perfect peace.
All right. So don't forget, before we get out of here, because we're way over time, Singles Chat Reloaded. All right. On Saturday, We are
Yeah.
relaunching again. We had this in back in June where we talked about forever relationships, and we are relaunching it. And we are going to be here every Saturday at noon Eastern. I'm not every Saturday, not every Saturday, y'all. Every first Saturday of the month is Singles Chat Reloaded, where our singles are coming together and they're talking about what's on their mind, from everything from relationships to money to politics to whatever is on their mind. And so this Saturday, we've got Single Free and Becoming Me. And it's all about talking about enjoying your singleness, what you should be doing in your singleness, and what it means to live life abundantly in your singleness. So join us on Saturday. It's not just for singles. I mean, it could be whether you're single, unmarried and dating, engaged, newly married, or married. You just might learn something about becoming you, because you can still become you while you're married. Okay, you can become a better version of you and become who God created you to be, even when you're married. So join us on Saturday. If you know some singles, let them know about it. And we will see you again here every Monday at 7:30. We got some good stuff for you in the month of October. We've already
Yeah.
got it out. You got to join us here every Monday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, as we continue to think outside the red box. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you all have a great evening, and we will see you again.
Yes, peace. Stay in peace, not in pieces.
Bye.